Jules Winfield. Samuel L. Jackson's turn as Jules Winfield in Quentin Tarantino's Pulp Fiction is one of the most electrifying performances of the 20th century. A role that transformed him overnight from a respected character actor into a global icon. Before this moment, Jackson had been a familiar face in Hollywood, appearing in films like Coming to America, Do the Right Thing, and Goodfellas. But he was rarely a household name. Everything changed in 1994. Jules Winfield was not simply a hitman with memorable lines. He was the philosophical center of Tarantino's crime opera, and Jackson played him with a mix of menace, humor, and gravitas that no one else could have delivered. Jules enters the film in a simple black suit, delivering casual banter about the metric system and European fast food before stepping into a blood-soaked apartment to execute 3 terrified men. His calm, rhythmic cadence as he quotes Ezekiel 25, verse 17.
The path of the righteous man is beset on all sides by the iniquities of the selfish and the tyranny of evil men.
Is both theatrical and terrifying, a ritualistic prelude to violence. Jackson's delivery made the passage unforgettable, turning a mashup of biblical language and Japanese exploitation cinema dialogue into one of the most quoted monologues in film history. The scene is a masterclass in tension. Jules seems to enjoy the performance as much as the killing, a man fully aware of the power of words to intimidate and dominate. The character's arc is what elevates him beyond the typical gangster archetype. After surviving what he calls a miracle, a barrage of bullets fired at point-blank range that leaves him and Vincent Vega completely unharmed, Jules experiences a spiritual awakening. He announces that he is leaving the life to walk the earth, like the character Kane from the television series Kung Fu. This decision is tested in the diner hold-up sequence, where he holds the robbers Pumpkin and Honey Bunny at gunpoint but ultimately spares their lives. The old Jules would have executed them without hesitation. The new Jules quotes his Ezekiel passage again, this time interpreting it as a call to become the shepherd, who guides the weak instead of destroying them. It is one of the most powerful redemption moments in modern cinema, reframing a cold-blooded killer as a man seeking grace. Behind the scenes, the creation of Jules Winfield was shaped by Jackson's own fury. When he learned that another actor had nearly won the role, he flew to Los Angeles exhausted and angry, grabbed a burger and shake on the way to the audition, and stormed in with the intensity that ultimately won him the part. This real moment of simmering rage inspired Tarantino to incorporate the burger into Jules's now famous Big Kahuna burger scene, blending life and art. Combined with the character's distinctive Jerry curl wig, a last-minute choice that became iconic, Jackson's Jules was an instant legend, propelling him into the top ranks of Hollywood and cementing his reputation as the ultimate embodiment of cinematic cool. Malcolm X and Alonzo Harris. Denzel Washington stands alone on this list for an extraordinary reason. He is the only actor here with not just one, but 2 performances that instantly made him a legend. Performances that reveal the full spectrum of his extraordinary range. These roles, separated by nearly a decade, highlight the incredible range and depth of one of the greatest actors of all time. In 1992, he became Malcolm X, embodying the fire, charisma, and transformation of one of history's most controversial leaders. Nearly 10 years later, in 2001, he gave the world Detective Alonzo Harris in Training Day, an electrifying portrayal of corruption and charisma so powerful it earned him his 2nd Academy Award. The sheer contrast between these 2 performances shows why one role was simply not enough to capture the full measure of Washington's genius. Washington's path to Malcolm X began long before Spike Lee's cameras rolled. By the early 1990s, he had already earned a reputation as a serious actor with range and discipline. He honed his craft in theater, winning acclaim for A Soldier's Play, and became a familiar face on television as Dr. Chandler in Saint Elsewhere. His early film work included standout performances as Steve Biko in Cry Freedom and Private Trip in Glory, the latter winning him an Oscar for Best Supporting Actor. All of this was the foundation for his portrayal of Malcolm X, a part that required not just technical skill but a complete transformation of voice, body, and spirit. Malcolm X traces the life of Malcolm Little from hustler to revolutionary leader to reflective global thinker, and Washington plays each stage with distinct energy and authenticity. As Detroit Red, the conch-haired hustler of Harlem, he captures the charisma and dangerous charm of a man running from his own identity. In prison, the character transforms, adopting the discipline of the Nation of Islam and discovering his voice as a minister. Washington's physicality becomes sharper, his cadence more deliberate, as he channels Malcolm's fiery sermons with uncanny precision. The later stages of the film reveal a calmer, wiser Malcolm who has traveled to Mecca and embraced a more inclusive vision of Islam. Washington's ability to evolve the character from brash street hustler to global statesman makes the 3-hour epic a deeply human story, rather than just a historical reenactment. Washington immersed himself in preparation, studying every speech, interview, and photograph of Malcolm X. He adopted elements of the Muslim faith during filming, refrained from eating pork, and practiced the cadence of Malcolm's distinctive speaking style until it was second nature.
Had it not been for the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, I'd have surely been in an insane asylum or dead.
His efforts paid off. Critics and audiences alike hailed his performance as transformative. Although he did not win the Oscar that year, his work is now widely considered one of the greatest biographical performances ever filmed. More importantly, it revived Malcolm X's image for a new generation and cemented Washington's place as a cultural force. Nearly a decade later, Washington shattered his own carefully cultivated image as the principled leading man by stepping into the shoes of one of cinema's most magnetic villains, Detective Alonzo Harris. Training Day unfolds over the course of a single harrowing day in Los Angeles. Following rookie cop Jake Hoyt as he is introduced to Alonzo's world of street justice, Washington's Alonzo is a masterclass in charm weaponized. He is quick-witted, smooth-talking, and terrifyingly persuasive. He uses his charisma to seduce both Jake and the audience, drawing them into a moral gray zone where the line between cop and criminal is obliterated. The role is unforgettable because Washington makes Alonzo's menace so compelling. From his first scene, strutting in a lowrider with dark glasses and a leather jacket, he radiates power. He teaches Jake how to bend the rules, exposing him to drug busts, backroom deals, and extrajudicial executions, all under the guise of training. As the day spirals out of control, Alonzo's true motives are revealed. He is desperate to pay off a massive debt to the Russian mob and is willing to betray anyone to save himself. Washington's final monologue, the now iconic
King Kong ain't got shit on me,
is a furious eruption of pride and defiance. Delivered in a single explosive take, it strips Alonzo down to a desperate man raging against his own downfall. Preparing for the role, Washington worked closely with director Antoine Fuqua to ground the character in reality. He grew a goatee and modeled aspects of Alonzo's look and behavior after real-life LAPD officer Rafael Perez, whose corruption scandal had rocked the department in the 1990s. Much of the dialogue, including several of the film's most memorable lines, was improvised on set, showcasing Washington's command of character and instinct for authenticity. The performance earned him the Academy Award for Best Actor, making him only the second black man to ever win in that category, and it redefined what audiences expected from him. Taken together, Malcolm X and Alonzo Harris represent two poles of Denzel Washington's artistry, the righteous prophet and the corrupt predator. One performance inspired reverence, the other provoked shock and awe. They are separated by nearly 10 years, yet both instantly became defining moments not just of Washington's career, but of American cinema. They show why Denzel Washington is not just a great actor, but an actor whose legend required more than one role to be fully written. Ray Charles. Jamie Foxx's performance as Ray Charles in Ray is widely regarded as one of the greatest biographical portrayals in film history, a complete transformation that elevated Foxx from popular comedian and sitcom star to an Oscar-winning dramatic actor. Before taking on the role, Foxx was best known for In Living Color and The Jamie Foxx Show, along with comedic film roles in Booty Call and The Truth About Cats and Dogs. His first dramatic turns in Any Given Sunday and Ally hinted at his potential, but Ray required a level of commitment and depth that few believed he could achieve. The film follows Ray Charles's life from childhood poverty in Georgia to global stardom, chronicling his blindness at age 7, the death of his younger brother, and his rise as a pioneering force who fused gospel rhythm and blues and jazz to create soul music. Foxx portrays Charles not as a saintly musical genius, but as a man of contradictions, brilliant yet troubled, warm yet controlling, and plagued by a heroin addiction that nearly destroyed him. Scenes of Charles recording hits like What I Say and I Got a Woman are electric. Foxx captures not just the sound, but the physicality of Charles's performance, swaying and grimacing in perfect rhythm. Foxx's preparation for the role was legendary. A classically trained pianist since childhood, he could already play many of Charles's songs, but for total authenticity, he glued his eyelids shut with prosthetics up to 14 hours a day during filming to replicate blindness. The experience was initially claustrophobic and triggered panic attacks, but it permanently altered his body language, forcing him to rely on sound and touch. He lost 30 pounds to match Charles's physique, and painstakingly learned to play every piano part exactly as Charles had recorded it, so that his hands would always match the music on screen. One of the most extraordinary moments in the film is the scene where Ray finally confronts his addiction. After years of using heroin, Charles checks himself into a rehabilitation clinic and suffers violent withdrawal. Foxx plays the scene with raw vulnerability. His body convulses, his voice cracks, and the hallucinations of his childhood guilt surface in a harrowing dream sequence. This moment of pain and redemption serves as the emotional climax of the film and leads to Charles's lifelong sobriety. Ray Charles himself personally approved Foxx for the role after meeting him and jamming together on piano, telling the producers,
"Yeah, you got it."
Charles lived long enough to see a final cut of the film before his death in 2004, lending the project a special weight. Foxx went on to sweep awards season, winning the Oscar, BAFTA, Golden Globe, and Screen Actors Guild Award for Best Actor. The role remains a benchmark for biopic performances, a career-defining moment where Jamie Foxx ceased being simply a talented entertainer and became a legend. Virgil Tibbs. Sidney Poitier's portrayal of Virgil Tibbs in the Heat of the Night was more than a performance. It was a cultural event that redefined how black men could be portrayed on screen. By 1967, Poitier was already Hollywood's most prominent black leading man, having won the Academy Award for Lilies of the Field, and starred in films that presented him as intelligent, dignified, and morally unassailable. Yet this position came with its own burden. He was often criticized for playing characters that were so flawless and accommodating that they felt unrealistic, The role of Virgil Tibbs allowed Poitier to shatter this image and inject a righteous fury that resonated with the turbulent civil rights era. Virgil Tibbs is introduced as a Philadelphia homicide detective stranded in Sparta, Mississippi, a fictional southern town drenched in racial tension. His polished suit, calm demeanor, and professional authority immediately clash with the town's police force, who at first mistake him for a suspect solely because of his skin color. The film's central conflict is set in motion when Police Chief Gillespie reluctantly accepts Tibbs' expertise to solve a local murder. The power dynamic is clear. Tibbs is the smartest man in every room he enters, and his intellect repeatedly embarrasses the local authorities who underestimate him. The film's most unforgettable moment comes in what became known as the slap heard round the world. While interrogating wealthy plantation owner Eric Endicott about the murder, Tibbs is slapped across the face for daring to question a white man. Without hesitation, Tibbs slaps him back, his face a mask of icy defiance. This single act of physical retaliation was revolutionary for its time. Mainstream American cinema had never shown a black man striking a white man and walking away unpunished. Poitier insisted that this moment be included in the film and went so far as to have it written into his contract that the retaliatory slap could never be cut from any version shown worldwide. This act of star power ensured the film carried the cultural weight Poitier intended. Behind the camera, even the lighting of the film became a political statement. Cinematographer Haskell Wexler developed new techniques to properly illuminate Poitier's complexion, a rare consideration in an era when lighting setups were designed almost exclusively for white actors. On location, tensions were real. Poitier refused to stay below the Mason-Dixon line at night after a frightening past encounter with the Ku Klux Klan, forcing the production to house the cast and crew together in safer areas. The film was both a box office and critical triumph, winning 5 Academy Awards including Best Picture. Tibbs' line, "They call me Mr. Tibbs," became a rallying cry for respect and dignity, echoing far beyond the screen. With this performance, Poitier permanently shifted the paradigm of black masculinity in film, paving the way for more complex, assertive, and fully human characters in the years to follow. Morpheus. Laurence Fishburne's portrayal of Morpheus in The Matrix was a defining moment in science fiction cinema, a performance that combined mythic gravitas with futuristic cool and instantly elevated him to icon status. By the late 1990s, Fishburne was already a seasoned veteran, having started his career as a teenager in Apocalypse Now and building a resume that ranged from gritty dramas like Boys in the Hood to Shakespearean stage roles. He had won a Tony Award for 2 Trains Running and earned an Oscar nomination for What's Love Got to Do with It. Yet Morpheus was different. It was a role that required him to become a guide, a prophet, and the philosophical anchor of an entire mythology. Morpheus is introduced as the most wanted man in the Matrix, a calm and mysterious figure who offers Neo the choice between 2 pills: the red pill to learn the truth about reality or the blue pill to remain in ignorance. This single scene became one of the most enduring metaphors in modern cinema, a symbol of awakening that has been referenced in philosophy, politics, and popular culture ever since. Fishburne's measured, resonant delivery makes the choice feel weighty, turning what could have been clunky exposition into a moment of near-religious significance.
You take the blue pill, the story ends. You wake up in your bed and believe whatever you want to believe. You take the red pill, you stay in Wonderland, and I show you how deep the rabbit hole goes.
Throughout the film, Morpheus functions as mentor, leader, and believer. He commands the hovercraft Nebuchadnezzar, leads a small band of rebels, and places unwavering faith in the prophecy that Neo is the one, destined to end the war against the machines. His belief is so strong that he willingly sacrifices himself, enduring brutal interrogation and near death at the hands of Agent Smith, so that Neo can live. Fishburne's performance grounds the film's high-concept world building, providing a moral compass and emotional center amid the action. Fishburne's preparation for the role was rigorous. He and the principal cast trained for 4 months in martial arts under legendary choreographer Yuen Wu-ping, learning wire fu, high-intensity choreography, and combat stunts. Despite his larger frame, Fishburne performed many of his own fight sequences, including the iconic dojo scene where Morpheus spars with Neo. This scene, where he tells Neo to stop trying to hit me and hit me, is both a thrilling action sequence and a metaphorical test of faith, pushing Neo toward his eventual self-realization. A little-known fact about the casting process is that several major stars were considered for Morpheus, including Russell Crowe, Gary Oldman, and even Sean Connery, who declined the role. Fishburne's deep voice and commanding presence convinced the Wachowskis he was the embodiment of the character they had imagined. His performance not only defined Morpheus but also helped establish a template for the wise, Afrofuturist mentor figure in science fiction. Decades later, the image of Morpheus in his mirrored sunglasses, hands outstretched with the red and blue pills, remains one of the most recognizable visuals in movie history. Muhammad Ali. Will Smith's transformation into Muhammad Ali in Ali marked a career-defining leap from blockbuster superstar to serious dramatic actor, a performance that earned him his first Academy Award nomination and silenced critics who doubted he could embody one of the most iconic figures of the 20th century. By the late 1990s, Smith was known as the King of July 4th, thanks to hits like Independence Day, Men in Black, and Bad Boys. He was charming, bankable, and synonymous with big-budget spectacle. Ali demanded something different: discipline, vulnerability, and a complete physical and emotional metamorphosis. The film focuses on Ali's most turbulent decade, from 1964 to 1974, covering his rise to heavyweight champion, conversion to Islam, refusal to be drafted into the Vietnam War, and eventual comeback culminating in the rumble in the jungle against George Foreman. Smith captures both the public and Private Ali with precision. As the brash young fighter, he delivers Ali's rhyming trash talk with perfect timing, taunting Sonny Liston with float like a butterfly, sting like a bee, and shadowboxing with infectious charisma. As the political activist, he radiates conviction, portraying Ali's defiance when he tells reporters,
"Man, I ain't got no quarrel with them Viet Cong,"
knowing it may cost him his title and career. Smith's preparation was among the most demanding of any actors. Under trainer Daryl Foster, he spent a full year training 6 hours a day, 6 days a week. He bulked up from 185 pounds to a lean, fighting weight of 220 pounds, running miles every morning, sparring with professional fighters, and enduring real punches for the sake of authenticity. During filming, former WBO champion Michael Bent accidentally hit him so hard in a sparring scene that Smith's neck compressed, sending an electric jolt down his arms. Instead of stopping production, Smith kept going, determined to honor Ali's spirit. Beyond the physicality, Smith immersed himself in Ali's mind and faith. He studied the Quran, worked with dialect coaches to master Ali's Louisville accent, and spent hours watching archival footage to replicate every gesture and vocal inflection. Director Michael Mann even banned music recorded after the era being portrayed from the set to help the cast stay grounded in the period. One of the film's most memorable sequences is the recreation of the rumble in the jungle. The fight scenes were choreographed to match Ali's real footwork and timing, and Smith's ability to mirror Ali's rope-a-dope strategy is uncanny. In quieter moments, such as Ali's pilgrimage to Mecca, Smith conveys a deep spiritual transformation that balances the bravado of the boxing champion with the humility of a man seeking truth. Although Ali was not a massive box office hit, Smith's performance was universally praised and permanently changed how audiences saw him. No longer just a charismatic action star, he proved he could inhabit greatness. John Shaft. Richard Roundtree's portrayal of John Shaft in Shaft was a watershed moment in American cinema, a performance that introduced audiences to a new archetype of the black leading man. Before Shaft, mainstream films often presented black characters as deferential, asexual, or defined by racial struggle. Shaft changed everything, putting a confident, stylish, and unapologetically independent black man at the center of a gritty detective story. Roundtree, a former model and member of the Negro Ensemble Company, was relatively unknown at the time. Director Gordon Parks reportedly discovered Roundtree when someone showed him a magazine ad and said, "This is the look you need." The casting choice proved perfect. Roundtree's natural charisma and physical presence became the foundation for the character's enduring cool. Shaft is introduced in one of the most iconic opening sequences in film history. The camera follows him striding through Times Square in a leather trench coat as Isaac Hayes' funky wah-wah guitar theme kicks in. This entrance immediately tells the audience that this is a man who owns his environment. Shaft is a private detective operating out of Greenwich Village who moves effortlessly between Harlem streets, mafia offices, and police precincts. He takes orders from no one, using a mix of cunning, toughness, and street smarts to solve cases and stay one step ahead of danger. What made John Shaft groundbreaking was not just his job or wardrobe, it was his attitude. He is sexually confident, engaging in relationships with both black and white women at a time when such portrayals were rare on screen. He refuses to be intimidated by anyone, whether it is gangsters, corrupt cops, or Harlem crime bosses. This was a radical departure from the respectable characters played by Sidney Poitier in the previous decade. Shaft is not seeking white approval or assimilation. He is his own man, defined by his mastery of the world around him. Roundtree relied heavily on Parks' mentorship during filming. Parks personally sent him to his tailor to create Shaft's signature look and insisted that Roundtree keep his mustache, which the producers initially wanted shaved. The swagger that defined the character was partly improvised. In the Times Square opening, Roundtree jaywalks, flips off a taxi, and crosses the street with a natural strut that became instantly iconic. The film's success was staggering. Released in 1971, Shaft helped save MGM from financial collapse and sparked the blaxploitation boom, proving that films starring black actors could be major box office hits. Isaac Hayes' theme song won an Academy Award, further cementing the film's cultural footprint. Roundtree would reprise the role in 2 sequels, a short-lived television series, and later return for the 2000 and 2019 reboots as the Elder Shaft. More than 50 years later, John Shaft remains a symbol of black power and cool, a character who redefined what a hero could look like and made Richard Roundtree a legend forever. Albert, aka Mr. Danny Glover's portrayal of Albert Mr. Johnson in The Color Purple is one of the most haunting performances of the 1980s, a fearless depiction of abuse, power, and eventual redemption that made Glover an instant dramatic force. Before taking on the role, Glover was best known for his stage work and a handful of film appearances, including Places in the Heart and Witness. He was still largely an unknown to mainstream audiences, which made his transformation into Mr. all the more jarring. Mr. is the central figure of oppression in Alice Walker's story, an abusive husband who marries the young Celie against her will and subjects her to decades of physical and emotional torment. He beats her, separates her from her sister Nettie, and hides Nettie's letters for years, depriving Celie of her most cherished relationship. In one of the film's most quietly devastating sequences, Celie discovers the hidden letters and reads them one by one, tears streaming down her face as she realizes her sister has been alive and writing to her all along. Glover plays Mr. with a chilling realism in these moments. There is no melodrama, only the cold authority of a man who believes he is entitled to control the lives of those around him. Mr.'s cruelty is not without context. The film reveals that he was shaped by his own father's brutality and misogyny. This generational cycle of abuse is symbolized in the way Mr. tries to force his son Harpo to dominate his wife Sophia, leading to Sophia's unforgettable line,
"All my life I had to fight."
Glover's performance makes Mr. terrifying without turning him into a cartoon villain. He is a man acting out what he has been taught, even as it destroys everyone around him. The turning point comes during Celie's climactic dinner table confrontation, where she finally stands up to Mr. and declares her independence, as Celie curses him and tells him,
"Everything you think about is gonna crumble."
Glover's reaction is extraordinary. His face flickers between rage, confusion, and a dawning recognition that he has lost the power he once held. This moment begins Mr.'s gradual journey toward change. By the film's end, he attempts to reconcile with Celie, helping to reunite her with Nettie and restore her family home. Off-screen, Glover's decision to play Mr. was not without controversy. Some feared that audiences would confuse the actor with the character and reject him, but Glover embraced the challenge, saying he wanted to humanize Mr. rather than make him a caricature. He later became a vocal activist, using his platform to champion social justice causes, a striking contrast to the character that made him famous. Mr. remains one of cinema's most complex antagonists, a man whose journey from abuser to penitent observer is as essential to the film's emotional impact as Celie's triumph. If you like this breakdown, you'll love where I go next, so click the video on your screen and find out.